Advice for writers coming out of college. What are they, maybe they've been told, you're
Yes.
amazing, you're going to set the world on fire, you're going to leave our little school, good luck. And
I would say that my biggest advice to writers coming out of college is live your life. Like when writers will go straight from college to the writer's room and not experience life, then I find that they are stunted. And so, for me personally, I like the writer that explores another career path and then comes into the writing and succeeds or fails miserably and has something to say. Like that, to me, is more interesting than the writer who got straight A's all the way through school and then goes into the writer's room. So I think the biggest thing is understand the journey as well. Understand that it's not about selling that first script. It's about creating longevity, and it's about really taking the time to grow into your own skin, understand who you are, what you have to say, and the impact that you want to make on the world with your writing.
So then, let's suppose maybe they're several years out of college and they finally say, I'm going to block out this much time to write this amazing script. What should I start writing about? Should I do a horror film? Because I know those are popular with the 18 to 34 demographic, and I know I can, add a soundtrack to it. And what do you think?
I would say write about what you're the most passionate about. You have to recognize that the number one thing that sells is passion. And so genre, as much as you can say, well, yes, this genre sells more than that genre, and the timing for this genre might be better. If your passion isn't there, it will show up on the page. And I think if there were an exact science as to what will hit, then writers would be making it all over the place. I think really, I'm going to tell you from being a studio executive for the number of years that I was, and still being a writing instructor at NBC, and studying pilots and knowing that, Hollywood doesn't know exactly what's going to hit. They're throwing it out there and praying that Middle America is going to show up. And you can have, I think if you were to survey a bunch of studio executives at the beginning of each season and say, what shows do you think are going to be the breakout hits versus what shows are, there's, it's hit or miss.
So going back to this writer coming out of college, and they say, I love Lost, and I'm going to write another version of it. But that's not what their story, their own personal story is anything like.
Right.
And you kind of get to know this person. You find out they had a totally different life from, being on an island is not maybe something that most people have, but, something that's very dissimilar to what they want to write about. What do you say?
I always say the biggest thing to write right now is something that connects to your emotional truth. So if you are dying to write something that has no link to your emotional truth, then think of why you're passionate about the concept. And maybe move for, I've helped writers think of personal stories that they didn't realize actually did connect to the concept. So I think I definitely think that there are writers who function better writing about things that are removed from them.
Mm-hmm.
But what you have to think about, say when you take Harry Potter, you ground it in thematic emotion and the idea of, what does ground the concept. And those are themes of, childhood and coming into your own, and things that we all connect with on a massive level. Like when I covered the 4400, I remember thinking, okay, well, not many of us are going to relate with 4400 who are abducted from Earth and then returned back to a life that moved on. But what we identify with is abandonment, redefining your life, the idea of failure to reconnect with a family that has moved on. There are all those things we connect with. So I think when you're writing stories that are outside your emotional truth, it's figuring out how to ground them so that even though the concept may be way outside anything the emotion and the themes are connected to you.